you know, in the beauty that if you believe in God, I was reading Rosie O'Donnell's blog, and people were really upset because she said that she pretty much, you know, found spiritual happiness at the theater. And they're like, oh, no, you can't find it anywhere but church and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, people are so focused on having to say God's name. Oh, God, 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 God. And they're so focused that you have to go to a building that someone calls a church. And it's like, I'm of the belief that, number one, God isn't interested in fame. So I don't believe that God has really any care as to you having to say his name over and over and over again. I don't think God, I say he because that's traditional, but God has no gender. God is, you know, this entity that created everything. In my beliefs, and I do believe that, you know, that there was an entity that created everything, and that is what I call God. Secondly, you should be able to find spiritual happiness in all of the beauty that is the world we live in. Because if you believe that God created everything, and not that, you know, God is physically drawing or, you know, building trees and stuff, but God created what, you know, the planet and the ecosystem and how things grow and evolution and things like that. I believe God created that and kind of sat back and is watching it unfold, even though God knows where it's all going to end up, because God is above human consciousness. It's not about God reaching in and you know, saving this person because they prayed enough, or this person because they're a really good person. I think God already knows how it all ends up, and because we all possess a piece of God in us, which is our soul, that is how God is able to change his/her perspective to be able to see things in a linear manner, as opposed to always knowing what's going to happen. And I think that's why we were created, is so that, you know, God can understand what it's like to have a choice, and then you know, navigate life in this linear path, and having everything in the past affect everything in the future and things like that. Because if God is all-knowing, then God's already at the finish line knowing how everything turns out, but every possibility is probably something that he knows. Like, then you go into the whole science fiction of that's how there are parallel universes, because every choice that we come across, we choose one way in another universe. The person that is us chooses another way, and to God sees all of that. And so you should be able to find beauty in the theater. You should be able to find beauty in going on YouTube and making friends. You should be able to see beauty in, you know, anything that was created by God directly or by humankind. Because if you believe humankind was created by God, then all of this potential was placed there for that very purpose. So I personally don't believe in organized religion, because I think people view pastors and preachers and priests and such as if they have a direct line to God, and they don't. They're human just like the rest of us, which means they can sin, and they, you know, they err, which is human. And forgiving is divine, blah, 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 that old adage. And that way, you know, if I ever went to a church, it would have to be a place where, you know, we would sit and discuss. And I would be able to say things like, well, what do you think of this? And not have people instantly, oh, you're blasphemous, you're going straight to hell, you need to pray now. It's all very cultish to me, every aspect of it. So I'll just live my life and try to be the best person I can be, and try to be as kind to others as I can, and try to, you know, make people smile, make people laugh. It's part of the reason I think I want to be an entertainer when I grow up. Because, you know, I'm not old enough now. Not. And I think that's what it should be. Your goal in life should be to pass on happiness. Pass it on. Pay it forward. You know, the movie itself was kind of okay, but the message is important. Random acts of kindness from Oprah Winfrey. Any of that. Anything you can do to make someone happy or to pass on happiness. Going back to the car metaphor, and I hope I haven't talked about this yet on the video blog, but this is my deep blog. When you're driving in your car and someone cuts you off, and maybe you've had a rough day, that's likely to make you very angry. And it's also likely to make you, if you need to get over at some other point, you're going to then cut someone else off. To me, that's the definition of karma. Because someone passed it to you, you internalized it, maybe took it personally, and got extremely angry. And granted, they were selfish and being an asshole because they cut you off, but it's going to happen. So you internalize that anger that they passed on to you, and then when you cut someone else off, then you've passed it on to them. So therefore, because of one action, 3 people have been affected. What I try to do, and I'm not always good at this, if someone makes you angry, try to absorb it, release it in a healthy way or a positive way. Maybe think that the reason they cut you off is because they're trying to get to a wedding really fast, or maybe, you know, one of their parents is in the hospital and they're just not thinking. Give people the benefit of the doubt. Give people that little bit of, you know what, maybe you do need to get somewhere faster than me. You shouldn't have done it like that. But I hope you're safe and everyone, you know, in your life is doing okay and that you get home okay. And just kind of pass it on like that. Because if we start, I'm thinking the reason all this crime is bursting out everywhere with the school shootings and the war and stuff is because our society seems to be so self-centered on itself. Like each individual is self-centered in a society, which really doesn't work because it is a society. It's not a society of individual nations within a person. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like because of all this anger and stuff that people are passing around, and racism and homophobia, and people are, you know, upset about it, we have to start absorbing negative energy and releasing positive stuff. And maybe things will start to fix. You know, it's on, and I know I've said this before, but I truly believe that it is the basis. You have to start on your daily activities. Don't break in line. Don't be rude to the person who brought your food because it took an extra minute longer. You know, just try to be nicer on a basic level. Try not to, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. I've talked way too long about that. Alright, well, I thought there was something else I was going to talk about, but I cannot remember it. How long is this now? It is 29. Well, I have those right there. Well, that's probably enough. Alright, this is going to be a 3-parter. No, it's going to be a 4-parter. Alright, y'all have a good one. Talk to you later. Bye. Madonna, take us out.
I'm not a Jew, I'm just living out the American dream, American dream, American dream. American life. I live the American dream. American life.